All right, let's talk about something we all know a little too well. You've got that big project, the deadline's breathing down your neck, and suddenly, every other task in the world feels way more important. Today, we're going to dive into the real science of why we procrastinate, and I'll give you a hint. It has almost nothing to do with being lazy.
I mean, does this sound familiar? That critical deadline is right there, the pressure is on, and that's the moment your brain goes, you know what we should do right now? Reorganize the bookshelf, or maybe finally figure out how to fold a fitted sheet. It's crazy, right? But trust me, you are definitely not alone in this. This really just captures that feeling perfectly, doesn't it? The key thing to realize is that this isn't some personal flaw. It's a completely human, totally predictable response to pressure. So the real question is, why? Why on earth does our brain do this to us?
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this paradox, we've got to bust a major myth first. Forever, we've been told that procrastinating is just a failure of willpower, that we're not disciplined enough. But you know what? That is a huge, huge oversimplification.
I mean, think about it. That word, discipline, it gets thrown around all the time, right? And usually it feels like a judgment, like you're not trying hard enough. We tend to think of it as just gritting your teeth and forcing yourself to do something. But from a scientific standpoint, it's actually a much more specific, well-defined skill.
And that right there brings us to a really crucial point. Self-discipline isn't about being tough on yourself. It's about regulation. It's literally the ability to manage your attention, your emotions, and your actions, especially when some shiny new temptation pops up. Think of it like a battery. It's a resource, and just like any battery, it can totally get drained.
So what's one of the biggest things that drains that self-regulation battery? You guessed it, stress. Now, stress is a funny thing when it comes to getting work done. It's got this weird, complicated relationship with productivity. Sometimes it's your best friend, and other times it's your absolute worst enemy.
And this difference has a name. It's a psychological principle called the Yerkes-Dodson law. And we've all felt this, right? A little bit of pressure from a deadline, that can be amazing. It gets you in the zone, sharpens your focus, and you just power through it. But then, too much pressure, that tips you right over the edge. Excessive stress literally starts to shut down the parts of your brain that you need for that complex, thoughtful work.
So a good way to think about it is this. Your prefrontal cortex is like the CEO of your brain. It's the part that handles all the high-level stuff, planning, making smart decisions, controlling impulses. But when it gets totally flooded with stress hormones, it basically just goes offline. The CEO has left the building. And when that happens, the more primitive, emotional parts of your brain take the wheel. And they're just screaming, danger, abort. They push you to either freeze up completely or, you guessed it, run away to a much safer, easier task, like, say, cleaning the kitchen.
Okay, so this stress response, this brings us to the real reason. This is the core idea of this whole explainer. So if you remember one thing, remember this. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotion management problem.
Yeah, this quote from the research just hits the nail on the head. When we put things off, our goal isn't really to mess up our schedule. What we're actually trying to do is avoid the negative feelings that come along with that task.
Think about it. That big project, it might make you feel anxious, you know? What if I mess this up? Or maybe you're just bored by the tedious parts, or totally frustrated because you're stuck. In that moment, your brain's #1 goal is just make this bad feeling stop, right now. And what's the quickest way to do that? Switch to something else that gives you instant relief. It's basically a short-term fix for your mood, but man, it comes with some serious long-term costs.
So that leads to the next question. Why are those distractions, especially the brand new shiny ones, so ridiculously tempting? Well, as it turns out, there's a pretty powerful chemical reason for that happening inside your brain.
See, your brain runs on this reward system, and the fuel for that system is a chemical called dopamine. But here's the catch. The dopamine hit isn't the same for everything. Starting something brand new, whoosh, you get this huge chemical spike. It feels exciting, it's full of potential. But slogging through that difficult, mundane work, yeah, that barely moves the needle. What's crazy is that even finishing a task gives you a way smaller reward than the thrill of starting something new. Your brain is literally, chemically wired to chase that next shiny object.
So let's just recap the real culprits here. We're not fighting laziness. What we're actually up against is this kind of perfect storm of our brain's reward-seeking chemistry, our natural desire to avoid bad feelings, and just plain old mental fatigue.
All right, so that's the why. We get it. Now for the really important part, what in the world can we do about it? And here's the secret. The key isn't to try and fight your brain with sheer brute force. It's about learning to work with your brain's natural tendencies by using some really smart strategies. First up, let's talk about the Pomodoro technique. You've probably heard of it, but its power is in how it tackles a bunch of these problems at once. See, a 25-minute chunk of work that's short enough that it doesn't feel super overwhelming, right? That lowers that emotional wall that stops you from starting. And those little built-in breaks? They're perfect for giving your brain the rest it needs to avoid burnout and that mental fatigue.
Okay, strategy 2, temptation bundling. This is basically how you hack your own dopamine system to your advantage. It's simple. You take a task you've been avoiding, a should, and you pair it with something you genuinely love to do, a want. So maybe you only listen to your favorite podcast while you're doing the dishes. By linking them, you start to transfer some of those good, rewarding feelings over to the task you used to dread. All right, strategy 3 is all about engineering your environment, and this one is huge. It's based on a simple truth. Your willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired. So instead of wasting all that energy fighting off temptations, just get rid of them. Make the thing you want to do the easiest option. If your phone is in another room on silent, you are so much less likely to just mindlessly grab it. Seriously, designing your workspace is one of the most powerful productivity hacks out there.
Now this next one, reframing your mindset, might be the most counterintuitive, but also the most important strategy of all. The research on this is crystal clear. Beating yourself up for procrastinating, calling yourself lazy, just creates this awful shame spiral that actually leads to more procrastination. But being kind to yourself, being compassionate, allows you to step back, look at what happened without judgment, and figure out a practical way to make it easier next time. It's not about being soft, it's about being smart.
And through all of this, you've got to remember, consistency totally beats intensity. This is not about pulling one heroic all-night cram session. It's about building tiny, sustainable habits. Seriously, focusing for just 15 solid minutes today is infinitely better than planning to focus for 8 hours tomorrow and then not doing it. Those little wins, they build on each other, they create momentum, and they actually start to retrain your brain.
So let's wrap up this toolkit with this really powerful way to think about it. Discipline is not punishment, it's training. It's all about setting up your life, your environment, and your own mindset in a way that makes doing the right thing, the thing you actually want to do, easier and way more rewarding.
So I'll leave you with this thought. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself to do things. It's about understanding yourself. Now that you know what's really going on in your brain, what's one small way you can work with your brain tomorrow, not against it? Maybe it's just putting your phone in a drawer. Maybe it's trying one single 25-minute focus session. The goal here isn't perfection. It's just a little bit of progress.